Welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil and I practice daily and share tips so we can all do better. Today we're talking about throw practice, the placement of sharpshooting. I call this my sharpshooting part because we're going to discuss today when the release, how the arc of the dice is when we throw it, what it looks like in the air, and then where it lands, the placement. We start off with every morning with my practice to make sure that my dice are aligned to do the warm-ups and the turn. Then I'm putting in the weight in the past videos so that the weight is distributed to all three fingers nice and evenly. And then I try and practice the drop. I'm trying to get the feel of how tight I can make it so that I can release it on its own. And I practice that. Now we're moving into the placement of the throw. So when we come into this and we're practicing dropping the dice, you're looking at down straight. Now is when the rubber meets the road. This is when you're going to take all that you've learned from your grip and your throw. And I'm doing a small back swing. And I'm going to go follow through with the thumb facing out. And when you release it, the idea is the revolutions of the dice are going to go backwards. And they're going to try and stay in the air together and land on the zone place you want it to go. So I put 9 different landing zones down here. And there's a reason behind that. I want to see how accurate I am this morning on being able to pick a spot and hit the spot. And I have 9 different zones because when you're live in a casino, there are chips everywhere. So you're not going to ever have the spot you exactly want to have each and every time you throw. You're going to have to vary it. So if I'm sitting here looking down at those chips, and I can't hit the perfect zone I want to do, I have to be able to adapt. And so I practice this to try and give myself an idea of how's my hand-to-eye coordination today? Am I releasing it the right way? So remember, we're building a ledge and our thumb is just holding on to those dice. The centrifugal force is what's going to release the dice out of my hands. I'm keeping them together. So it's really the upper body strength that's going to release at different levels so that I can go far, medium, and low in the area that I'm trying to pick. The other reason I have it in 3 different areas is so that I can adapt. If I'm in the first position, I'm throwing at a different space than in the second position or even the third position. So I'm trying to adapt that range too, so I can try and get a muscle memory on what I'm trying to do at all different levels. So now see, I'm trying 3 different areas, 3 different zones, and I have them numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My goal is to try and zero in on each level of throw. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to practice going across rather than back and forth. Sometimes I go back and forth, but other times I go across so that I can try and really get that release and that strength the same each time for those 3 dice and see if I can narrow it. So when I'm practicing, my focus is starting at the beginning as always and focusing on my zone. So if you see, I'm trying to line this up with the pass line. The pass line here goes right down, and here's my 1 zone. So when you're doing 1, 2, or 3, you're going to be in the pass line. The next one's where the field line is, and I'm going to reach over a little bit. Once again, each casino is a little different. You're trying to vary it so that you can adapt when you get at the casino. And then my final one is the combat line right here. It's going right along the combat line. So there's 3 different angles. I'm adapting because when you're in a casino, this rail could be up, it could be down. You might have a lot of junk in front of you. You might have to reach over because the angle of this corner is not as narrow as mine, and you have to reach out to get more into the center of that table. So every table's different, and we're going to talk about that in upcoming videos on how to adapt to that on the bounce. But my biggest goal is to try and get my body to do the exact same thing each and every time. So when I get to the casino, I can adapt a little bit to adjust to it. So if I'm going to be practicing in the morning, I'm coming in for each of these throws, and I'm going to line this up with the pass line, and I'm looking for the arc. What is the arc? I'm trying to do a 45 degree, so it'll come up around like this, and I want it to hit right there at the 1, and hopefully hit both the back wall. So when I'm aligned, I'm making sure I have my everything in line, and then bam, hit the 1. So now I just move on, start over, and I come up to the next one. And when you're doing deliberate practice, this is where you're trying to intentionally do each thing 100% of the time. Now see, I was short on that. So when I'm looking at that throw, I was short. I could see that the arc and the angle wasn't as where I wanted it to be. It should be up a little more and plop down, and it kind of just spread. So did my thumb release? Did my fingers release? Those are all concerns that you have to look at when you're doing the practice. And see, that was a little further than I wanted. So my sharpshooting skills are basically to try and get myself to get a nice flow with my arm and be able to adapt to a lower level. There's 4. And try and concentrate on, am I able to pick off exactly where I want to go on each of these? Is it the right length? Is it the right size? And if I'm off that day, what can I do to adapt to fix it? So you don't have to be exact, but the better I get at being able to land it right where I want, right like that, the better I am when I get on the casino floor to adapt to where my dice go and where the dice go. So by the time I get down to my 9th throw or 18th throw, I'm pretty much nailing each of those. I'm pretty much nailing each of those numbers. So today I'm having a good day. I'm able to hit that. But there are going to be times when you're not going to be able to. And that's when you're going to concentrate on that for your next round. Maybe you need to do another round of sharpshooting to narrow it down. Maybe you need to adapt. Are your fingers going? Are you releasing right? Go over the basics again to see what's going on there. As you can see, I started out okay. In the middle rounds, I was a little flimsy, but at the end, I nailed the last 3 dice chips. So I was very happy with that. I would do it another round of it just to make sure I'm able to adapt my throw. But this is all about the arc in the air, in the placement. So in future videos, we're going to dissect each one of those on what they should look like and how your fingers adapt. I'm going to take video on what a bad throw looks like and what I did wrong, super correct it. So maybe you can take those videos when you're having a problem in a specific thing, whether it's an arc, what your dice look like in the air, maybe you're not landing it right, and how can you adapt your practice to try and fix those things. So when you get to the casino, everything goes right. So today we talked about the arc and the angle and what's in the air a little bit, but we were mainly trying to sharpshoot the placement of each of these targets so that you had a good sense of what the release looks like when you're releasing at the different angles, or if you're in different sections of the casino on the rails. So hopefully you learned a little bit about this. This has been a long practice session today, this morning, and I hope you enjoyed it. Just remember, the best betting strategy that I can do or anybody can do is to throw for a long, long time. Join me tomorrow. We're going to talk about charting and practicing charting versus live charting. And hope you have a good day.